afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. We will be landing in the airport in just a few minutes.
All right, the secrets to dialing in Flight Simulator 2024. Welcome, friends. Today we're going to be diving into dialing in our flight simulators, and I'm going to be showing you the real secret to dialing in our sim. If you're the type of person that that's always chasing that FPS or striving for that ultimate FPS or that, next couple of frames per, let me just tell you, you're going about it all wrong. It's not about FPS. It's about balance, and I'm going to show you my secrets to dialing in the perfect sim. No stutters, awesome graphics, great performance. Yeah, you're going to want to stay tuned for this. Okay, a little, if you look up in the top left-hand corner of my screen, you'll see that we've got our data up there. So we're going to be showing you, keep an eye on that. We're going to be going over all of that. I'm going to be turning that off for a second. Okay, so let's dive right in and get right into this and show you the secrets to my secrets to success with performance in the sim and getting rid of these dreaded stutters. Okay, let me start by showing you my community folder here. Now let's just take a quick second here to talk about the community folder. Now, I know there's a lot of stuff on the Microsoft Flight Sim store. There's lots of free stuff out there. There's lots of stuff for Microsoft Flight Sim and our flight simulators. But I want to take a second to hit on our community folders for a minute. It's essential that you go in and clean up this folder a little bit and get rid of all the unwanted junk. All the stuff you have in there, stuff you've downloaded and it doesn't work, or it half works, or this and that. Just take some time and go through and clean out your folder, because if this folder looks like a hoarder's mess, trust me, your sim is going to run rough and it's going to have a hard time. But you can see, scrolling down, there's all this stuff. The one thing you won't find in my community folder is a lot of junk. Broken aircraft or scenery that I've bought or gotten that half work or don't work, or that I barely use, and this and that. I got rid of it. Everything in my community folder works. It's not a piece of junk. It's not just hanging out there and I don't use it anymore. Yeah, do yourself a favor, take some time. There's lots of tools. You can get tools like Add-on Linker to help you with all your stuff in your community folder. Excuse me. I don't use that. Perhaps I should, but maybe we'll take a look at that one day. But I go to great lengths to keep my community folder clean and organized best I can. And you can see it's full. There's a lot. I got a lot of add-ons and a lot of stuff, but that folder is clean nonetheless. Okay, so that's it. Our community folder. All right, next on the list is my system. Let me just give you a reference point so you could see what we're dealing with here. Here's our system. Bring up a system and my rig here. There we go. My rig. Okay, you can see we're running on Windows 10 yet still. I got the extended version, so I am getting updates for it, but I'm thinking about going over to Windows 11 soon. I'm running the latest game ready driver from NVIDIA. I always try to keep my drivers up to date best I can. Every once in a while, though, they'll release a driver that just kind of breaks things. So I'll have to roll back. But for the most part, my drivers are kept up to date. Now my CPU is an AMD Ryzen 9 7900X3D. It's a bit of an older processor now, but this thing has been fantastic for me, so I haven't changed it. I've kept it. I love it. Might be really upgrading to a 16 core soon, but we'll see. X3D processor, but Ryzen 9, but we'll see. For now, I'm sticking with my 7900 X3D. It's served me well and still going strong. My RAM, Kingston Fury, 64 gigabytes at 6400 MTS. Yeah, there's a lot of RAM, and it's pretty fast RAM. So that's my RAM. My storage is 4 terabytes of NVMe. Samsung 990 Pros. There's 2 of those in there. One of those is just running my flight simulator. There's nothing else except the essential stuff for my flight sim, stuff like that. So there's that. Now we come down to my graphics card. My graphics card is a NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090. It's the Asus TUF RTX 5090. So yeah, that's a great card. Love it. We'll go on about that, but just a heads up and let you know, yes, I am running an RTX 5090. But dialing in your sim, it's not about the graphics card. What I'm about to show you is going to work whether you have a 5090, a 4090, or 4080, or even a 3080. This is how to go about dialing in your sim, regardless of the card you have. The one thing about our sims is no two systems are alike. Just like fingerprints, even if you have identical equipment in your system in 2 different computers, you can have different results just from the silicon lottery. So this system of dialing in your sim is not about the equipment you're running. It's about how you go about thinking about it. So let's move on. Okay, our monitors. My primary main monitor is an OLED monitor. It's a MSI OLED monitor. I just upgraded to that. It came with huge benefits, and it came with some challenges too. But I'm running the sim in full HDR10. And I've got HDR turned on in the sim. You'll see that in a minute when we go look at the settings and stuff. So my primary monitor is HDR, is an HDR OLED monitor. I'm recording this video in standard 4K. My secondary monitor is a Samsung Odyssey. It's a standard 4K monitor. You can see it's 120 hertz. My OLED monitor is 240 hertz. And my 4K monitor is a 120 hertz monitor. Now below that you'll see a third monitor, and it's not a monitor. It's actually a capture device. This is the Elgato 4K Pro capture device. This is actually an entirely different system. And as you can see, it's capturing native 4K resolution, and it's recording in 4K. This Elgato 4K Pro is on an entirely different system. It's a high-end system in its own right, but yeah, all my recording is being done on a different system than is running on my sim. So what you see my sim running on, that's just my sim. It's just my system running the sim. Okay, so that's my rig. All right, let's go over our settings now in the flight simulator. And our settings. Okay, we'll start at the top here. Now, I'm not going to get into the global settings too much. You can set those up however you like. But I will hit and talk about the key points and the stuff that are heavy performance hitters. So let's start at the top. I'm running at full screen display mode. Is full screen. As you can see, like I mentioned a minute ago, I'm running in HDR10. I'm running the sim in full HDR, and it is incredible, folks. It changes everything. The lighting, it changes everything. Just the way the sim looks. The sim looks so beautiful in HDR. I can't even begin to explain it. I wish I could show it to you. I'm working on that, on starting to record in full HDR. So stay tuned in the future. I got full HDR videos coming down the full HDR Flight Sim 2024 videos coming down the pike. My exposure compensation, I reduced it just a tad. I run I can't even remember the name of the I'll tell it to you in a minute when it comes back to me. But it's an add-on that runs in the background for oh man, something. Drew a blank on it. Sorry, folks. But anyways, it runs in the background, but it's not going to matter about this. So my EV is minus 0.25. That's where I keep that on. I run on full screen resolution, 38 by 2160. That's standard 4K. The render scaling is at 100. Keep it at my native resolution, 4K resolution. I keep it on that. The AMD sharpening 200. It's been on 200. I've left it on that. I don't even really know what this does. It doesn't seem to have much effect on my sim. I've set that to 200 and left it there. Now we're coming down to the meat and potatoes of it all and where the secret lies. Now, I showed you I'm running a 5090 graphics card. Now, don't get me wrong, that graphics card, it's a powerhouse. It has a lot of power. You can unleash it and let it go. It pushes 600 watts and it'll use those 600 watts, trust me. But as you can see here, I've got it locked down. I've got my frame rates locked down. Max frame rate, yes, ticked on. Now this took a lot of dialing in from, below 50 FPS, and I just kept trying and adjusting it a little bit, bringing it up a little bit at a time until I found that sweet spot for me. This is where it's at, folks. Locking down your systems. Now, I have an RTX 5090. It can achieve over 60 FPS, well over 60 FPS. It can hit 70 FPS and sometimes it can peak higher than 70 FPS. And you're wondering, well, then why are you locking it down at 60 FPS? Because I'm not chasing FPS. That's why I've got frame rates locked down and frame rate and FPS locked down. Because like I said, and you'll hear me say it over and over again, it's not about the FPS. It's not about the FPS. You can run the sim awesome on 40 FPS, 45 FPS. If you're getting 45 FPS, you're going to have a smooth running system with very few stutters. Trust me. I've done it. I just set up my buddy's system. He's running a 4080, an RTX 4080, and same thing. We went through and dialed in his. He's running at about 45 FPS, and his sim is butter smooth. So it's not about the FPS, my friends. It's about balance and getting that balance dialed in. So the first part is going through and locking in this FPS. And we'll get into more about that. Okay, frame generation. I am using 2 times frame generation. Again, I could use 3, 4 times frame gen, but yeah, it's not about the FPS for me. People want to bump up these frame gens, 2, 3, 4 times frame gen, um, for better FPS. So it shows you that it's not about the FPS. Um, but I do leave it on mine on 2 times frame gen because it just smooths out and just helps with that balance and it's not about the FPS. It's about just balancing everything out. And there's that 2 times frame gen. So NVIDIA DLSS 2 times frame gen for me. Now let's jump back up here. I skipped this part here. Anti-aliasing, TAA versus DLSS. Now, I'm going to tell you the truth right here. Which is better, TAA or DLSS? And the truth of the matter is, the best one is the one that works best for you and the one that works best in your sim. Some people are like, oh, DLSS is better than TAA and TAA is better than DLSS. You know what? The best one is the one that works best for you. And for me, TLAA or TAA works best for me. I've gone through all the DLSS. Trust me, I've spent the last year trying to dial in my sim. I've gone through all DLSS. I've dealt with TAA, and right here, TAA is what works for me. For me, I'm trying to avoid scaling best as I can. I'm running full screen resolution. My render scaling, I'm running it at native resolution. I'm trying to avoid upscaling and downscaling and all that stuff. I didn't know if it would work for me, if it didn't, but it seems to be working like a charm for me, as you're going to see. So that's it. I run on TAA. So on this one, you rock what works best for you. If DLSS is it, then go DLSS. Okay, back to where we were. VSync interval. I've got this set to half my monitor refresh rate. Now my monitor refresh rate is 240 hertz refresh rate, and I've got it set to half, which locks down to 120, and I've got my frame rates locked at 60 with 2 times frame gen, brings me up to 120. You're going to hear me when I talk about my frame rates say 60 a lot, because I'm not talking about the frame generated frames. I'm talking about our raw native frames whenever you hear me talking about frame rates when it comes to FPS. So I'm not in about the frame gen, right? It's about our raw FPS that we're getting, not the 120. The 120, the extra frames that are stuck in there, yeah, it's not about those. It's about stability. So half my monitor refresh rate, that's what I have it set at. Yeah, so you can see I've got my sim locked down, even running an RTX 5090. I've got things all up buttoned up here. Okay, dynamic settings. I've got that turned off. Now, I've got that turned off because I use auto FPS, MSFS auto FPS by Reset Transponder. There's my settings. I'm in VFR, set to VFR right now because I'm in a GA aircraft, but that's how I've got my auto FPS set. It's set to be at 50. My TLOD is set to be at 50 when I'm on the ground, because when I'm on the ground, I can't see my terrain level, my train level of detail. So there's no point in having that cranked up. So it's on 50 when I'm on the ground. And when I'm above my max altitude, which is 3,000 feet, it goes to 200. And it looks great. My terrain looks great. You don't need this at 300-400. You're going to see. Okay, my object level of detail, that's at 200 when I'm on the ground, because when I'm on the ground I need to see the objects clear and good, so I want to see that. So that's bumped to its maximum. It's gone up to 200. And once I go above 2,000 feet, my object level of detail drops down to 20. Um, because when I'm at altitude, I need to see my terrain, which bumps up to 200. And I don't need to see the objects that good. So that goes down to 20. Runs like a dream. So there's my VFR settings when I'm flying in VFR aircraft. There's a quick look at my IFR settings right there, and that's what it's set at when I'm flying my airliners and I'm flying at IFR. But for today's flight, we got it in VFR. So there we go. Let's get that out of the way. So that takes care of our dynamic settings, so we can leave the default settings off. Now let's go down to our global rendering down here. Now you can see our terrain level of detail and our object level of detail. We just talked about those, and you can see Auto FPS has those set accordingly. Now my off-screen terrain pre-caching, it's gone back to ultra. My sim, I'm telling you, it drives me nuts. It keeps changing these settings for me. Now I have to go back out into my regular setting. But you're going to see, I'm going to show you, that should be on high. There's my auto FPS screaming at me. It doesn't like it that I'm changing while it's running. But we're going to go put these all back to where I friggin' had them. Okay, I had buildings on high, 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 high. This stuff here, you don't need it on ultra. Even with my RTX 5090, I can run this on ultra. You know, my rocks are on medium, whatever. This stuff is neither here or there. The grass is a heavy hitter. This can be a heavy hitter. The rest of it, not so much, but you know, whatever. Set it the way you like it. Now, volumetric clouds, I keep that on ultra all the time. And the anisotropic filtering, I always keep on 16 times. The waves are on high. My ray trace shadows, I keep on high. Now, you see this all went and changed itself on me. All right. There's my settings for my shadow maps of where, and my terrain shadows, where they usually live at. Windshield effects is on high. Ambient occlusion is on high. My bit mapping, that's right. So that didn't change. This stuff all stayed the same. Okay. Now, like all the default traffic and all that, I got it all turned off. I use Beyond ATC when I want traffic and stuff. That's just the recording for the CapFrame X, which I'm going to show you in a second. 1 second here. It's a tool that you're going to need. So let's all my default stuff is off. So this is my stuff here. You can pause it and take a look. This is how I have my sim set up. I know this stuff was on ultra, but since I got it dialed in, I have to keep having to go back. I have to go back before I start a flight and change this in the main menu, and then your settings will stay the same. If you change, I find when you change these when you're in a flight and then you exit the flight and you come back, these all change back to what you had them before. So that's it. These are the settings. So that's what I want to touch on here. The secret is right in here and locking this stuff down. Your global settings, you can set those to how you like them. This is how I got it. and the sim looks great, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Okay, so let's jump back in our sim. That's enough of that. Okay, we're back in our sim. Now, I want to talk about a tool. You need some way to track your 1% lows and your stuff, because that is what you want to concentrate on and what you want to track, not your FPS. Let me bring up our data up here, top left corner again. Now you can see there's a stutter every time I change views and bring things up like that, or do something like that, or my view on the cinematic mode change. You'll see a spike, and that'll be the stutter. That's fine. That's just the sim changing views. But other than that, you can see my frame timer right down here. It's almost flatlined. Right? Some people's frame timers, you come down here, it looks like their sim's having a cardiac arrest and is in BFib. It's just like beep, 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 just constant spikings. Now, if I unlock my frames and let my graphics card go wild, that's exactly what's happened here. You'll start seeing these spikes, and they'll be big spikes, not just little ones. They'll be, and you know, my FPS here will be up and down from 140 down to 98 down to 120 down. It'll be all over the place. And my 1% lows, you'll see those down around 10, stuff like that. So yeah, we're gonna talk about this in a second. So there's that. So but to get that data up there and that information up there, let me see if I'm able to bring my Cap Frame X up here. Yeah, it's giving me all kinds of issues here. It's on my other desktop. Stand by. Just bear with me for 1 second here. Well, we opened up this window for you. There it is. We're back with you. Bring this over. Let me get my other screen back to the way it was. And there we go. Okay, Cap Frame X. This is the tool that I use to monitor my flight sim. Now you can see here on the left hand side there says Microsoft Flight Simulator, Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now I'll click on one. This is the last one. I'm not sure. I think it's the last recording. What's the date? But anyways, these are the recordings that I've done. Now you can see here. Now this is from me jumping around and bringing up all my different views. That's why it's at 96. And I didn't get a better result here, and you're seeing a bunch. But we can go. Now this is after me getting my sim dialed in here. Now you can see stuttering 0%. And I had, you know, smoothness of 100% during some sessions, right? Different sessions moving different settings, right? And then I can come here and I can see right here exactly, you know, what part of my flight was what, right? We can come down and we can look. 1% stuttering. So 98.7% of my flight was smooth as butter, right? And we can come through and look. You can look and track. You know, you can see this setting obviously didn't work out very good for me, or whatever was going on. And, you know, only 79% smooth my flight. I had a lot of low FPS and a lot of stuttering, which means my 1% lows up there were... Anyways, Cap Frame X. I'll leave a link in the description where you can get this. This is a free tool. You can get I'm not sure if it's payware version or donation to unlock even more stuff. But go ahead and check out CapFrameX. I'll leave a link for the description. This version that I'm using is free, and you can see you can set up your overlay here, which is up here on my top left-hand corner. We'll bring that up again. There it is. That's my overlay. You can, set it up to display whatever you want. I could display all my cores. I just need to display the essential stuff. I just want to see the percentage of my GPU is running at. I want to see the temp it's running at. I want to see what my CPU is running at, and I want to see the temp that's running at. That's basically it for my GPU and CPU. But the main stuff I want to see is right here. I want to see these averages. My FPS average is 60 FPS. That's what I have my FPS locked in at, right? So I'm not surprised at seeing that. My 1% lows. These 1% lows, I want to see them as close to my 60 FPS that I have locked in as I can. That's what you want. I want to see these 1% lows no lower than 30% if possible. I definitely don't want to see them down around 10, 15, all that, right? I don't want to see my 1% lows drop below 30% if possible. And I want them to be at as close to my locked in FPS as I can. Sometimes they're higher than this FPS I got locked in, which is absolutely golden. If you can get those one, and that's going to give you this absolute flat line here. Okay, it's showing this because I'm on this CapFrameX. But CapFrameX, this is the tool I use to monitor and dial in my sim. So this is the number right here. This 1% low is what I'm chasing right here. Not this FPS, it's this 1% low. I'm trying to keep it so it doesn't drop below 30 and that it stays as close to my FPS as I can. Okay. So that's it. We've covered CapFrameX. And I've showed you the test. Okay. And I told you what I'm chasing here, which is my flight sim. Now you can see it's down to 24 there. When you switch around, it takes a minute or so for this to settle out. So like if you switch from one screen to another or one view to another or whatever, give this a chance to settle out before you get into it. Okay, now I am using some add-ons. We got some add-ons running in the background too with our sim. Right here, Flow. I'm using Flow. Flow, absolutely love it. Parallel 42, love it. As you can tell, I also use GSX. I don't use GSX very often when I'm flying in GA aircraft like I am now. But I use it for my pushbacks and stuff for when I'm doing airliners. Right now, we're in cinematic mode, chase plane. Absolutely love it. To me, it's a must-have. It converts all your sim views. Looks like the weather's changing here. We might have to change our weathers. I want to keep it so I can show you the sim. But we'll check on all that in a second before we start our flight here. I want you to be able to see the graphics. I got live weather running right now. FS Realistic Plus. I do have that, but it is not running right now in the sim. As you can see, if I bring it up right now and go check it, it'll be off. When I fly GA aircraft, I have that off. I usually only run that when I'm in the sim. Okay, let's bring up Flow again. Let's take a look at our weather here. Our winds, 20 knots, 18. We got live weather. We got some rain. We got some overcast. Okay. So let's go ahead and change up this weather a little bit because I want you to be able to see the ground. I don't want to get into the clouds where everything's all grayed out, because I really want you to see how the sim is performing, and that'll defeat the purpose for us if we're all grayed out in the clouds. So let's go over here. Let's pick some different weather here. See why I love flow? It just gives us... Let's go with scattered clouds. Brightens the day up, sunshine. Brings our winds down a bit and makes things a little bit more manageable. There we go. Gives us our sunlight. It's morning sun, so we'll see some of our shadows. We'll get that ray trace shadows affecting things. So, yeah. All right. Let's jump right into this and get this up in the air and start showing you the results. Now, as you can see on the ground right here, my 1% lows in the cockpit are above my FPS like I was describing to you. If you can get these above your 1% lows above the FPS you're locked in at, then you're golden. And that's exactly what we have going on sitting right here in the cockpit right now. And as you can see, my average FPS is 120, which is my 60 FPS that I have locked in. And we got a solid 60 FPS. It's not up bouncing around. It's locked in. Solid. And if we look at our frame timer here down here, our graph, it's pretty much flatline. It'll get a little blip every now and then. There's no such thing as a 100% sim that doesn't stutter. 100% stutter free sim. You're gonna get little blips when you change views and look around quick. You see, let's see if I can... Wow, it's pretty stable and smooth right now, but once I get around the Vancouver area, you're gonna see. Now, let me talk about scenery and what's going on. We're in a pay-wear aircraft. It's complex. Not as complex as one of the big airliners, but it is. Now, we're at Victoria International Airport in British Columbia. And at one point, when I first got this add-on scenery, I couldn't even land at this airport. I couldn't land at this airport. I couldn't taxi at this airport because my stutterings were so bad. We're not talking microseconds. We're talking like half-second stutters and maybe even a second stutter. 1 second. It was bad. So bad that I couldn't even use this airport. And we've gone from that to what we have now. And as you can see, and you're going to see when we're looking around, can show you from the cinematic mode and some of the... Let's go into our spot camera, see if we can pan back. You know, this is an absolute beautiful scenery. Well, we're not seeing much of it sitting here, but it's an absolute beautiful scenery. I don't feel like jumping into the drone cam and all that right now. And it's gone. So, back in our cockpit. Now, Vancouver, we're going to be taking a trip. We're going to be flying, doing a little sightseeing flight around Vancouver there. My Vancouver, the city itself is a pay-wear scenery by Sam Scenes, and it's a heavy hitter on your performance on your system too. Again, heavy FPS hitter. If you want to talk about FPS, but we're not dealing with FPS here. We're dealing with balance. And you're going to see that. Once we go in there, you're going to see we're going to go from sparse scenery. You're going to see the performance of the sim. We're going to go into heavy scenery. You're going to see the performance of the sim. We're going to be taking off and landing, and you're going to be seeing the performance of the sim and stuttering on both the takeoff and the landings. So I know a lot of people like to skip through, but hang through this video, grab yourself a coffee, and relax on this one, because I want you to take a look at the performance throughout the sim. And if you're jumping through from beginning to end of the video, you're going to kind of miss what's going on with the performance in the middle. All right, quick sip of my coffee, and let's continue on. So yeah, Vancouver, heavy performance impacting scenery. And then we're going to be flying into a little airport at the foot of the Rockies, the Canadian Rockies there in the beautiful Pacific Northwest here, Squamish. I flew into it in my last video where we were going over this aircraft, the Baron Caravan Professional. Awesome aircraft. I highly recommend it to everybody. But yeah, we're not going to get into talking about that right now. This video is about the sim and performance in the sim. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly go over that and let you know what we were dealing with there, and so on. So let's go on. I got my failures usually set to global real one-time rate, but we're going to turn off all failures right now because for this flight, I don't want to interrupt what we're doing here with something that's catching me off guard here. Let's go back to my payload here. Okay, let me just top up our tanks here. As you can see, let's put some weight here so we can balance out our center of gravity. We'll throw some weight in the back here. There we go. CFG, good to go. And our top tanks are topped up. So we can get rid of that. Okay, all our controls, my throttles are all working good again. All right. Good. My throttles were giving me a problem earlier. All right, let's get this thing fired up. Let's get our battery up. Forgot our fuel. Let's get our fuel turned on here. All right, we're good. Let's get our fuel pumps on. Our ignition on. And let's get her going. We're gonna watch our NG when we got a stable around 20% NG. We're gonna throw it into high idle, or into low idle, I should say. And we're gonna watch our ITT for peaks. Okay, she's stable. Let's throw her in a low idle. Watching our ITT here for a peak. Oh, we're good here. Let's bring our prop up. And we're good. Looks like a good start. Let's reset our generator. Oh, that's still on. Go, generator lights on. Off. Off. We can go ahead and throw our avionics on. There we go. Our avionics coming online here.
System test
right.
okay.
Let's go in here and throw in a quick flight plan here. We'll import a flight plan. Menu, import. This one here looks good. Let's activate it. Yes. Okay. Let's go in here and throw in a departure. Our departures. We'll take the YYJ6 for runway 9 and we'll load that departure. There we go. Our flight plan is loaded. Go back, throw our map on. Ready to rock and roll. Okay, got all my last place. I'm cleaning up my aircraft. There's our beacon nav. Throw our taxi lights on. Set. We'll keep her in low idle. Okay. We'll turn off our data up on the top, but we'll keep an eye on all that. Don't worry. So we can fix that. close our door. Quiet things down a bit too. Pilot door. There we go. We'll throw our headsets in. That'll quiet things down a little bit. Let you guys able to hear me a little better. And we're ready to rock and roll. Okay. So let's get our brakes off here and get on our way. Like I said, we're departing. Once you get good with the beta range on this aircraft, it's fantastic. Shouldn't be kicking her into beta though. We got a bit of a hill to climb here. This plane is an absolutely awesome plane. And like I said, all our views are from chase plane. Keep it just on the low edge of that beta range and you can just, you know, guide this thing and stop it with minimal brakes. Yeah, all my views are chase plane. Winds to our tail a little bit, but it's next to nothing, so it shouldn't be too bad. Want to try and keep this flight as simple as we can. Yeah, nice little scenery on this scenery pack, this Victoria International. Got the fire department up here. Runway. There's the ferry docks down there. Just take them straight out on the runway since we got no ATC today. But yeah, great little scenery pack. Victoria International. I got it from Orbix. And there we are, runway 9. Okay, let's get a couple more things set up here before we go. Just trying to rush. I don't have the aircraft all set up here. It's early morning here. Let me get some lights on here on our instruments. Everything's looking a little dark. I'll just crank everything up. All right. Throw in a notch of flaps here. I don't have my parking brake on, so keep my feet on my brakes. Let's get our landing lights on, strobe lights on. Inertial separators in, that's okay. We'll leave that the way it is. All right, we're ready to go. Let's bring his power up. I was wondering why I was having problem. Forgot to bring my mixture to full rich. There we go. Was wondering why I couldn't get any torque. And at 65 knots, there's our 65. We'll get her up in the air. And there we go. Trim her out. There we go. Nice and trimmed out. And beautiful departure. And you can see everything is smooth, no stuttering. Let's bring up the data. You can still see that's nice and smooth up there. Let's throw on some autopilot here. There's our autopilot. Heading alt. I didn't set my altitude. Let's set our altitude 4,000 feet. And let's set our vertical speed to 900, shall we? There we go. And as you can see, our FPS, now we're out over the water, scenery is pretty light, but our FPS still locked in at 120 there. And our look at our 1% lows, well above what we got our FPS locked in at. Okay, let's get on course here. VSS, let's go direct to. All right. And we want nav. There we go. Turn off our messages. Yeah. Consumer product. For sim use only. Okay, let's start heading towards Victoria here. All right, we're heading towards Victoria. We'll try to stay out of the clouds. Looks like we got some low-level clouds. So we'll do our best to try and stay out of the clouds. They're scattered. Let's turn our landing lights off, our taxi lights off. Oh, my nav lights should be on. Not sure why they're off. There, landing lights off. There we go. Taxi lights off. And we're good. And directly on course. So let's go outside, take a look. We can scroll around. Oh, that's cinematic mode. Let me put it in. Check spot mode. And you can see pretty smooth. Do we get our flaps up? No. She's trimming out. I'm too busy with the performance of the sim. I'm not paying attention to my flying here. Getting behind the aircraft. Beep, beep, beep. There we go. And look at those 1% lows. Still over and above our locked in FPS. This is golden. You can't ask for more than this. Now, when you start dialing in your sim, do it from the same location all the time. Do it from the same location and do it from a location and a scenario that taxes your sim and puts a lot of pressure on your sim. Because if you dial in your sim in your worst case scenario, then when you jump into like a GA aircraft in a light, you're gonna have performance like this. Now, when I'm dialed in, when I try working on dialing in my sim, I'm doing it in my PMDG 777, you know, in a heavy scenery impacted area, you know, with like beginning of day or the end of day when the lighting is the toughest, and all of that, right? It's clouds. Oh, but if we're still socked in like this around the city, we'll reduce the clouds a little bit so we can let the scenery impact our visuals here, and our 1% lows and our frame rates. But yeah, you can see my my FPS. It's now moving around a little bit. It's not rock solid on that 60 FPS that I have locked in, but it's staying right in that region. Now I want my 1% lows as close to 60 FPS as I can. And right now I'm having my cake and eating it too, because my 1% lows are well above what the FPS I have it locked into. Now remember, 1% lows, I don't want to see my 1% lows drop below 30 FPS. And I ideally want to see them as close to my locked in FPS as I can, which is 60. And right now I'm near 90. So we'll keep on trucking here. And I'll keep giving you different looks. We'll keep jumping outside. Let's do a flyby. Now you can see our 1% low stays solid. My FPS stays around my 60 FPS. Right. Cinematic mode. Now when I switch my views and modes, you'll see a spike or a jump in our FPS. But this is the cinematic mode. It'll cycle through several different modes, several different views. But scenery is not too intensive. A lot of bare scenery, a lot of water, and not much city scenery. But we're headed for the city right now, and that's about to change. And you can see there's the odd spike there. Every time my view changes, you'll definitely see a spike there. When we snap from one view to another view, you'll see a little blip on that frame timer on the bottom. But yeah. Yeah, we're heading into all kinds of cloud here. But we got higher level clouds here. We got, you know, now don't forget, I'm playing like I'm flying the sim. Like right now, I'm in HDR10. I'm in full blown HDR. I'm recording in 4K here. So I am running my sim in HDR. And like I also said, I will work on bringing a full HDR video. That comes with its own challenges. But yeah, I will bring in... yeah, we got like a lot of clouds. It's going to block in our scenery a little bit. So let's go ahead and switch up these clouds a little bit. Few clouds. Okay, that's a little better. Just gonna keep switching back and forth through these views so you can keep seeing the data up top. Just want to give you a real good look at how the sim is performing throughout this whole flight. You know, it's a shorter flight, but it's an A to Z flight. And it's not too short, right? and we're going around some heavy pay wear scenery that really impacts performance. But that line down here is what you want. Yeah, I've had this looking from total chaos to the way it is now. And I'm telling you, when you get it looking like this, oh man, it's such a breath of fresh air. It's so relieving. And then when you're flying the sim and everything is so smooth and just buttery, it's just, oh, after a year of fighting with the sim and that horrendous launch and the poor condition the sim launched in, it was just like, just gonna throw on some heat here. See my light here saying, warning us that the cockpit is really cold, and I look up, it's 48, so yeah, it's pretty cold. So let's pull out some heat, and this should go out in a second, and yeah, our temps are climbing there. All right, let me see. Is there anything I'm missing explaining? No, I think I've covered most of it. Yeah, just want you to pay close attention to the landings. You saw the takeoff; it was pretty, and pay attention to the scenery. Yes, now we're coming up the land here. We're coming up on Vancouver here. Yeah, I almost couldn't fly over the scenery at one point. This whole region was just a stutter fest. And it was almost unflyable. It was that bad. The early days of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Whew. Now, when it comes to Microsoft 2024, earlier we were talking about the community folder. Now, when it came to my community folder, I knew the launch of I've been in this genre for decades, long time. Long before Microsoft Flight Sim 98. I remember I started doing Microsoft Flight Simulator when the graphics were sticks. And I'm not joking. I literally mean sticks. And to what it is right now, right? This is by far the best sim I've ever seen. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, and I've done them all. P3D, all the versions of Microsoft Flight Simulator before this. X-Plane, I've done them all. And right now, to me, this is my opinion. Everybody's going to have their own opinions, and this is subjective, totally. This is by far the best sim that I've seen. The graphics, the detail, P3D and X-Plane, like just looking out your window, the sim just far superior. Just looks far superior. X-Plane had it hands down on Microsoft Flight Sim when Microsoft Flight Simulator first launched. The launch was a dog's breakfast. I knew it was going to be a dog's breakfast. I told my son before Flight Sim 2024 even launched that the launch was going to be a dog's breakfast and that I wasn't even going to bother getting in on day one, because you watch, everybody's just going to be crying about how they can't get in. I knew that was all coming. It was coming. It's inevitable. It's always been like this. This genre has always been like this. Day one launches, rough sims on launch day, and this and that. And this has to be fixed and that. It's always been like this. We were told plug and play, drag and drop our things over from 2020 over to 2024. I absolutely 100% knew, no matter what they were telling us and what I was hearing and all the rumors and this and that. Again, I told my son, no way that's going to happen. There's no way that everything's going to be able to drag and drop, paste and play, plug and play, whatever you want to call it. 2020 to 2024, and everything's going to be, rainbows and leprechauns. I knew it was going to be anything but that. So, there was no part of me that was anxious to jump on 2024 and start rushing to bring all my stuff over. I didn't try to import anything over from 2020. I said, you know what? It's just going to be a battle. You're going to have to this and that, and muck with this and this setting and this file and that, just to try and get it to half-ass work, right? Yeah, no, I don't have the patience for that crap. I don't have it. I knew it would take about a year or so, but eventually the devs would start, getting that stuff converted over, 2024 ready, and so that their products are working solid in 2024. So I didn't try to pull anything over or rush anything over. I wasn't about to pollute my community folder. And that's what it's all about. And you heard me talk about the community folder right at the beginning. Don't pollute your community folder. And if it is polluted, then get in there and clean it up, man. It's important. It's night and day on how your sim's gonna run, boot up, everything, man. Get that community folder in check. Now, when I said I go to great lengths to keep my community folder nice and in order, I'm not kidding. And that includes waiting for devs to get add-ons that I've already bought and paid for in 2020 properly ready for 2024. I don't know how to do that myself. They're the ones that do that, so I left it up to the pros. I know everybody's a do-it-yourselfer, and we all like to muck up our sims by doing a lot of stuff we don't know what we're doing. But this mucked up scenery we can see down here, you can see this clear line cut in my scenery. That's an Microsoft Flight Sim thing. There's not a whole lot we can do about that. But let's continue on. Now look at my FPS. Now, yeah, I just jumped out from inside to outside. It's settling down, but look at, they're not locked in at 60 FPS anymore. Right? They're starting to drop down. There's a little bit of fluctuations. My 1% lows are not above what my FPS I have locked in that anymore, but they are close to the FPS I have locked in, and that is my goal, to have them as close to my FPS I got locked into as I can, and my regular FPS, to have that as close to my FPS I have locked into. It's about that FPS I have locked in, that 60 FPS I have locked in. Now the reason, now that I got 60 FPS locked in, that's kind of the golden grail that everybody's striving for, that 60 FPS, right? But you don't need that 60 FPS. Trust me, the sim will run great on 40 FPS. You can see Vancouver down there. You can see all the streets. You can see all the neighborhoods, the subdivisions. You can see downtown. You can see the harbor. You can see all the docks. The scenery is there, right? And you saw what my settings are. The sim looks great. And my FPS and my 1% lows are right where I need them, to be. That scenery looks fantastic, and in HDR it looks even better. Because HDR gives you those true blacks. I had no idea. I thought 4K was good. OLED, yeah, but I had no idea. I thought OLED might have been a little overrated, but the true blacks, it gives you visuals that you can only achieve with an OLED panel, and it is stunning. The clouds look like vapor. The lighting looks like glowing light. Oh, it's just stunning. You know, on the ground, all the shit. Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's hard to explain. But anyways, we're about to hang another left here and fly along Vancouver Harbor. The one area that impacts my sim the most, and my 1% lows have stayed above or stayed around my locked in FPS, and my FPS kind of stayed close to my 60 FPS or 120. And that frame time, and you know, like whether I'm on my outside view, external view, sitting in my cockpit, look at my FPS have dropped down, right? I'm almost at 50 FPS there from 60, but look at on the ground. Nothing stuttering by. Look at this cloud going by here. There's no jerking or stuttering of the cloud. It's just going by. The ground's going by. There was a little stutter there. You're going to get them once in a while. Like I said, it's not about 100%. There is no 100%. So when I say no stutters, I guess I'm meaning next to no stutters. I'm meaning stability, right? I'm meaning to get a look at like what you're seeing right here. This bottom section, this is what you want to see. Numbers like this. This aircraft too, this Caravan, Cessna Caravan, the 208 Bravo from Black Square, phenomenal. This is the professional series. Now what separates Black Square's professional series from their old analog series is that the professional series is all Black Square. The old analog series was an adaptation or an upgrade from the Asobo default aircraft. This is all Black Square. Black Square has upped the quality of their game. They've upped the quality of their products. They just become a better dev all in all, and they wanted it to reflect in their product. So they decided to do their own aircraft. And it's a beauty. This is one of the BSGA aircrafts. From the A2A aircraft, the Black Square aircraft got to be the next best aircraft for me. So for me, it's A2A simulations and Black Square are topping the field when it comes to GA aircraft and just sheer quality and performance. But yeah, it looks great down there. All right. Now you keep seeing me close off the data up on my top left-hand corner because the one thing about OLED panels is they're susceptible to burn-in. And so you got to really, they're great. They got their pros, but they got their cons like everything else too. They have their cons. And they've gotten much better with the burn-in, but it's still a thing with OLED panels. So static images like that, you want to bring it up, and then you don't want to leave that up there too long like that. So there's the inlet to our Squamish there. We're going to be heading down the fjord towards the town of Squamish and the Squamish River, and we'll do our landing in Squamish there. So that was our trip around Vancouver. So I just wanted to show you. This was pretty much stutter free, and great visuals, great quality. we had the real world weather going on there, but it was going to affect our frame rates and stuff. So we wanted our test to be unhampered with socked-in views. So let's concentrate on our flying now. Enjoy the beauty of the sound and fly into Squamish here. Absolutely, absolutely beautiful, beautiful. So busy yapping and talking and talking and yapping. Just let you guys enjoy a little bit of the sim there and grab a sip of my coffee. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 has really started to come into its own since the release of Sim Update 4. Sim Update 4 addressed a lot of it. I think it's going to get even better with Sim Update 5. But yeah, if you're still hanging on to Flight Sim 2020, waiting to migrate over to 2024, yeah, I think the time has come, and that boat sailed. It's not even a question anymore. If you're still clinging on to 2020, yeah, it's time to upgrade to 2024. All right, we're making our turn. Looks like my flight plan wants to take me close to the edge of that cliff face there. So we'll switch her into heading mode and we'll deviate from our flight plan a notch here and fly down the river. Oh, let's switch her over to heading. Oh, I haven't done this yet. Otherwise, we're going to hang her right. There we go, heading. And now we can adjust our heading. We're heading into the foothills there of the Canadian Rockies here. So the terrain is going to start getting above our heads at 4,000 feet. Kept my RPMs up there. I should have had them down a bit, but it's okay. We'll start to slow this thing down and start making our descent. Pull back on our torque a bit. We'll start bleeding off some speed for that descent. I absolutely love the ray trace shadows. Just make cockpits look so great with the way the light just beams off your knobs and switches. Watching the shadows bend and twist as you're moving. It's just awesome. Okay. Pull back on that torque just a little more. Got our speed below 140. Let's go and start our descent. We'll make it a slow descent. And we'll just keep that torque down a bit there. Just so we can keep our speed under control. And we'll fly right into the Squamish Valley there. Okay. Yeah, this is absolutely beautiful. I love the Pacific Northwest. It's my favorite part of the world. It's just so beautiful out here. I've done a lot of real world flying out here, and it's just, I just can't get enough of it. When I'm away from the Pacific Northwest, it's almost a tongue twister. I long for it. Now, why did my descent stop? Come on. Oh. Why won't my... Okay, well, it's too late for that now. Now I'm friggin' too high. Wasn't paying attention there. Got behind the aircraft. She stopped descending for whatever reason. Probably pilot error. Let's get our landing lights on. Get some trim in here. Let's get one notch of flaps in there. Trim. Let's get that. There's the field. Throw another notch of flaps in there. Town of Squamish below us. Bring up the data there so you can see our FPS and our frame times. Last notch of flaps. Let me unplug my, just so I can hear my aircraft.
Five hundred.
Runway, we got full flaps in. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the butt if you have to go overshoot and go around here. Got that big hill in front of us. Kind of got to go around it. Ooh, a little back and forth here. Bounce there. A little bounce. Nothing too not my greatest, but I've definitely done a lot worse. Don't want to stop. Oh, the throttle there, Ken. All right. Where to park? Let's go park over here. Lots of room over here. Yeah, we'll tuck it right in here. Come on, turn around, baby. I don't know why she's giving me all kinds of problems. Doesn't want to turn. There we go. All right. We don't need that in beta. We can turn our power off. Everything off. And there we go. Can open our door. And there we go. Set our wheel chocks. Putting out our external power. There we go. Everything's open. What are we doing here? All right, there she is, folks. And here we are at the beautiful Squamish Airport. And as you can see, our FPS back at our solid 120 FPS. Another detailed airport. And our 1% low is above our locked in FPS again. So that's what it's all about. It's all about stop chasing, do yourself a favor and stop chasing those FPSs. It's not a matter of FPS. Do yourself a favor, start going after those 1% lows. Concentrate on those 1% lows. Keep your 1% lows not below 30% and try as close to your locked in FPS as you can. And you want to lock your FPS in at a spot where your computer can lock it in and keep it there for the most part. You're going to deviate off of that. Like I'm locked in at 60, but sometimes my FPS will drop down to 50 and 45 even sometimes, even 40, depends on the situation. But as long as I'm over that 40, I'm good. Right. And the way I got it locked in, very rarely does it go near 40 FPS. So I'm usually 50 FPS or above, usually fluctuates between that 50 and 60 FPS. But for the most part, she's going to want to stay locked in around 120. So yeah, play with that. Do it 1 FPS at a time. You know, let's try 40 FPS, 41, 42, 43, and just keep moving up until you find a spot that's stable where you can keep that FPS locked in at the spot you got it locked in at, and keep that, and you can get that your 1% lows around your FPS as close as you can get them. And that's it. That's the secret. And then you'll have a sim that's flatlined like this, your frame time flatlined like this, and you'll have a sim running smooth as butter. All right. What a mouthful. I'm tongue-tied today. That's it for today, my friends. We're going to leave it there. This video is taking long enough, but I wanted to give you a really good look. I wanted you to see the complex aircraft, complex scenery. I wanted you to see how the FPS and 1% lows are reacting as we're going through different sceneries, flipping through different views, scrolling around our cockpit, scrolling around outside the aircraft. I wanted you to get a good look at all that. All right, so we'll cut it and we'll leave it right there. As always, friends, remember, keep the blue side up and stay safe. And we'll catch you in the next one. Later, guys.